Hey guys, Martin here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be taking a look at the new free-to-play Frieza and Cooler that just got their awakening from the base Frieza that we already had available from the barbershop. Technically related to the quest mode, although you don't farm the card. You can farm equips now from the new stages. The drop rate is terrible. I've done quite a few runs and I've got some okay ones equipped at the moment. They're definitely not the best ones, although I think the gold one's probably the best one. But yeah, you get this guy from the barbershop. There's a whole bunch of missions and new barbershop stuff added. We've got him awakened. The only thing that changed is he gets Shattering the Limit. And he does exchange into Cooler, but none of the links change. So I did have mine link leveled already, so it was just a case of leveling up Shattering the Limit. And so yeah, we have Frieza, who exchanges into Final Form Cooler. So as a free-to-play unit, obviously, he has a 50% leader skill. This is always the standard, right? When these units get easy A's, it goes up to 77%. So not exactly super useful outside of, I guess, if you're brand new and only have free-to-play units. But the super attack effect is greatly raise attack, which is an infinite stack, and then greatly raise defense for 1 turn. Supreme damage to the enemy. That's a very good super attack effect for a free-to-play unit. And then the passive skill, key 2, attack and defense 150. Additional 25% attack with each turn passed up to 100%. So by the time 4 turns have passed, 100% extra attack. Reduce damage received by 20% when HP is 50% or more. So above half health, you have 20% damage reduction. It's pretty decent. Additional 50% attack and a medium chance to crit if your HP is 80% or less. So if it's between 80 and 50, you get the damage reduction and you get the extra attack and crit chance. That's quite good. And then we get an additional attack 150, attack and defense 150% when performing a super. And if there's a Wicked Bloodline ally in the same turn, you get an additional 100% attack and defense and an extra 20% damage reduction. And that's added to the on super, right? So with a Wicked Bloodline ally, he gets 250% attack and defense on super and 20% extra damage reduction, which means after supering, then obviously he has 40% damage reduction as long as you were above 50% HP at the start of the turn. So that's pretty good. We also get an additional 2 key and 50% chance to crit when all allies attacking in the same turn are extreme class. So I feel like you probably are mostly going to be using them on an extreme team anyway, which means you don't really need to worry about crit in the hidden potential. So mine has 8 additional, 8 crit and then 21 dodge. Obviously when we get some better skill orbs, I'll probably take out the silver crit one. I gave him like 3 crit in his hidden potential just so he had a little bit, but I'll probably change this one. And then of course I think this gold one is probably one of the better ones because it's 6 dodge and level 2 defense. But anyway, let's go ahead and see what our boy can do on the Slug team. He has a couple of 200% leaders, Slug, this AGL Frieza. In terms of meta relevant leaders though, it's probably just them because they are on time travelers, so they get the 200% lead from Sword of Hope Trunks. I think physical Turles as well because they are space traveling warriors. But in terms of, like I say, meta relevant leaders, the Slug team is probably going to be one of the better places for them. So we got every link active except Shocking Speed and Shattering the Limit. They do have big bad bosses, so obviously that is very good, right? Any units having that link obviously going to be extra helpful once we get that link leveled up. Get that active straight away. So let's see. Obviously full power Frieza slot 1. We don't ideally want to run full power Frieza as a slot 1 unit for the whole event, but early on while he's got the extra damage reduction and everything, he might as well, because yeah, he will just blow away Goku here. And then let's see. Should have checked Frieza's start of turn defense again. We did a quick look at him on the stream earlier this morning. He's at around 150-ish K defense without support at the start of the turn, somewhere between like 130 and 150. So bear in mind with a Wicked Bloodline ally, he gets 250% on super. There are turns even without support where he's getting up to sort of like 500 to 600k defense with 40% damage reduction after he attacks. And like, we wouldn't say that was great for like a new Dokkan Fest exclusive or something like that, but for a free-to-play character, that means he is tanking like most normals in the game outside of some of the hardest hitting bosses or bosses that like raise their attack on super. Obviously he's not going to be tanking big super attacks, but it is what it is. I did bring the Demon King Piccolo because he shares a few links with them and is obviously another demonic power ally for Slug. So we can go ahead and do that. Start getting some build up here for Slug. I thought it'd be fun to do the Heroes event as the showcase stage because it's not like super long. It's got quite a few phases and it can hit relatively hard nearer to the end, but it's not like a super easy or super difficult event. Because one thing to note, which is very important, is these guys are not a slot 1 unit. Like, even if you give them dodge in their hidden potential, they don't have any dodge in their passive, and they get most of their stats, like the large majority of their stats, and the extra damage reduction on super. So, start of turn, if we're talking about like 150k defense and 20% damage reduction, like they're not even tanking normals from some of these lower difficulty bosses for reasonable amounts of damage. Like I did a test run where I was trying out different team builds to see which one would be good just for showcasing these guys, because I wanted to use them on Slug's team, but then I also wanted to have the demonic power allies so Slug gets his intro. And yeah, like I tried out the stage with the Super Saiyan 2 Youth Gohan that I like to do for showcases from the Blue Zone, where you start off against physical base Gohan, and a normal attack in slot 1 they take like 350k. So you don't put them in slot 1, right? Now, obviously, if the Wicked Bloodline team starts to get more buffs and makes a bit of a comeback, they could be like a good floating unit potentially. Although, of course, with the blueprint of their design, they're an infinite stacking unit in base, who you then want to transform into Cooler to do the big damage. So you kind of... They're not going to get to attack this turn, which is really annoying. You want to get as many stacks as possible. So yeah, see, I really can't like take the risk of putting them in slot 1, which is annoying. Boo gets all of his defense on super as well, so I'm just gonna have to do this. They do get the extra attack with each turn that passes, because that's one thing you will notice, because their super attack effect is a greatly raised stack, and they get the extra 25% attack every turn. So something that you will see, I mean, we would have seen if they got to attack here especially, is that going from like turn 1 to their second turn, like turn 1 to turn 3, their attack stat will go up by quite a bit, because not only are they getting the greatly raised effect on their actual super attack effect, but then obviously they're getting the extra 50%, because it's 25% per turn, and then they'll have been gone a turn and then come back, so they'll have gotten an extra 50% attack by the time they've come back, and then when they do their super again for that turn, then they're greatly raising attack again. So it's the attack stats definitely jump up quite a bit in the first few turns, but we do obviously want to try and get as many stacks as possible. At least you have the option, right? It's an active skill to exchange into Cooler, because it's one of those issues with units like Super Saiyan 3 Rose, right, where if you have to float him or he starts in slot 7, you don't get a lot of turns where he gets to stack and then he's forced to transform and stop stacking. So obviously we want to try and get as many stacks as we can here. So on the next turn, the exchange will be available, but I probably won't use it straight away. Although we are getting stuck into... We need to kill Vegeta this turn, really. Otherwise we're getting stuck in this annoying cycle where they're going to keep coming onto the turn where the enemy's almost dead, but they can't go in slot 1, so then the enemy keeps getting killed. I don't know if I just said Kid Buu. I thought Kid Buu was in slot 3 for some reason. But Frieza, especially because we've got a Pure Saiyan enemy, if he actually gets his additionals here, might be able to kill him. Although, he's not doing big numbers here. We need all the additionals. Yeah, don't know. Up to 7.1. I think we would need at least one more super here to actually kill him anyway. I should have used the active skill, but... Oh, he's up to 10 now. I think that was because he's done the... Oh, is this his first appearance? He's done the extra attack. Nice. Alright, that's better. So, yeah, because this is his second appearance. So, now, I probably want to start floating off full power Frieza. Can't really rely on him to be in slot 1 for much longer. Although, of course, Slug does have type disadvantage. He's got 451k defense. The friend doesn't have full level 10 links, but has big bad bosses at level 10. So yeah, we're 138k here, start of turn. So let's go for these for you. Don't have the scouter built up yet for Slug either, so he could be supering in slot 1, which would be annoying, which he is. Alright, friend slug. You going to tank this with 66% damage reduction? Hopefully. Whew. I mean, he lived. I wouldn't say he tanked it, but he lived. So 10 mil. And let's see what we get from Frieza here. So bear in mind, we haven't seen him attack since the first turn, where he got, what, like 6.6? Something like that. But now he's gotten the full build up from his passive. Obviously, no other stacks at this point. But 16, I thought that was him for a second. Can you imagine? 16.6. I mean, obviously he infinitely stacks, so the longer you keep him stacking, I mean, he did break 10 mil. I was going to say, the longer you keep him stacking, he is going to be able to do some big numbers. We get the crit, and then we tank the normals for double digits. I mean, this is what we kind of want to see from a free-to-play unit. Like, if a free-to-play unit, we can go into an event, we can build up to a 10 million attack, and that's with him missing a stack. Like, he missed a turn where he didn't get to attack at all. Breaking a 10 million attack stat, tanking the attacks for double digits. I would say that that's pretty good. So let's see. We want... I can probably just get away with you in slot 1, even though he's getting supered here. Mine is obviously... Mine's only 55% as well, but now that he's got quite a bit of defense built up and is obviously going to get extra defense from supering, he should live the... He should tank the super attack way better than the friend on the previous turn. Also, I think we're on fairly low HP. Were we below 50%? Because if we were below 50%, it means Frieza only had 20% damage reduction on that turn instead of 40, and still tanks the normals for double digits. So that is good. Like, reliably tanking normals against some of the bosses is kind of what we want to see. Obviously, like I say, this Heroes event is not like super difficult, but it's still going to finish him off here. I think he will. He might need to. But actually, does he need to crit? He's got nearly 20 mil attack here. Slug's so good. But yeah, unfortunately, this Frieza, like, or for the Slug team, has the same kind of issue that, like, Bojack's EZA has, where Bojack's EZA, like, really wants Space Traveling Warriors characters, but Slug really wants Demonic Power characters, so you have to kind of balance the team. And obviously here, Frieza and Cooler really want Wicked Bloodline characters, because otherwise they're not getting their full buff. So let's go ahead and, you know what, let's just go ahead and transform here. So turn the animations on, and let's get this exchange.
Armies or clans alike, they are ultimately destined to be eliminated. For there is only one who can be crowned the strongest. And that title shall be mine.
I've always loved the design of Final Form Cooler. I've said it a million times, but yeah, what a beast. So 138k. So now that we've transformed into the Final Form Cooler, his attack is now raise attack and defense for 4 turns, does supreme damage to the enemy. So you can get multiple stacks on this, even if you float him off, when he comes back, it will have those like extra boosts for that turn, which is good. Key to attack and defense 150, and then he just has damage reduction 20%, and for 1 turn, an additional damage reduction of 20%. So he just has 40% on the first turn. 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance to become a super. Additional attack and defense 200% when performing a super. Additional attack and defense 30% and an additional damage reduction of 10% within the same turn with each super attack performed. Launches an additional super every time the character performs a super attack 3 or more times in battle, up to once within the turn. So what would be interesting is on the first turn, we're going to do our super attack. He's going to get 2 attacks that have a 30% chance to be a super each. Then he's going to have the hidden potential chance. So out of those 3 RNG extra attacks, if 2 of them are supers, that would then trigger that last part of his passive, and he would get a guaranteed additional super, which then means he'd have supered like 4 times in the turn, which gives him an extra like 10% damage reduction each time. So on turn 1, like if you get the God RNG turn, he can super 5 times. So on turn 1, if you got that RNG, he'd have 90% damage reduction after he's finished attacking. But obviously that's very rare. And the problem is, like I said earlier, right, his links don't change. I think I mentioned that, right? The problem is, obviously, it's kind of like the Trunks and Broly, where he only has the medium chance. So it kind of gives the feeling that it's like, are they saving that for like when he does get his EZA, those are going to change to high chance, which is just... Fair enough, like, that would be good for when he gets his EZA, but it's kind of annoying now, because medium chance is only 30%. So we'll see how we get on here. We're getting supered straight away again. Slug should hopefully be okay. Oh, okay, yeah, he's fine. Double digit damage. But yeah, so let's see what Cooler can do. 7.2 to start with. Super attack animation is kind of cool. There's the supernova. And then 2 additionals that are medium chance. What a surprise, neither of them are supers. And then we don't get the hidden potential either, because mine only has 8 additional. So yeah, I think you definitely want to give him additional in his hidden potential, because he needs, in the turn where he gets like the 3rd super, he will then do a guaranteed additional super. But now we've only done 1. So on his next turn, we're going to do another one, and then hopefully the hidden potential, one of his passive ones or hidden potential will be a super. And then he'll get a guaranteed additional super. He will also have slightly higher stats because he gets that buff for 4 turns. So sadly, only doing the 1 super means it's not like a crazy buff for the start of turn. But it should be okay. So let's do this. I mean, we're going to kill him here anyway. I mean, I could have just used the active skill, I guess. But since my slug tanked for double digits, I'm assuming that this slug will tank reasonably well as well. He doesn't have big bad bosses active here though, but he's not going to get one shot. Yeah, wow, this Vegeta must not hit that hard then. Oh, we got the Dokkan attack. Cool, good work. Dokkan attack for Demon King Piccolo with the enemy basically dead. So Eye Beam. Okay. Domain is expired, which is fine. I mean, they don't get the buff from the domain anyway. Okay, so do we get any extra links from you? We don't, so we might as well put you in slot 1, although he is supering in slot 1. So now he's up to 230k because he has that little bit of a buff from the previous turn. So bear in mind, he gets 200% on super. And he does also get an extra 30% from his passive with each super attack performed. So his numbers are kind of annoying to calculate because just from the passive on super he gets 200%. That's going to put him up to just under 700k. But then he's also getting the 30% with each super attack performed. So that should be, I'm assuming, off of this number, right? So 30% of this is, what, 75 to 80k-ish? About 75k, I would say. So he gets the 30, he's going to get that from his passive, so another 75k. Then he's also going to get the extra 30% from his super attack effect as well. So like after getting 1 super, he's going to be well over 600k, well over 700k defense. He only has 20% now because he only has the extra on the first turn, but each super gives him an extra 10% when it comes to damage reduction. So, I mean, I'm tempted. I do want to see him eat a super from this guy, but how much damage does Warrior in Black super attack actually do? I mean, to be fair, I could literally just bring up the Dokkan info page and actually check exactly how much damage he does. Not that it's going to matter too much now because I've put him in slot 1 regardless, but it's more so just to see like from how much damage he actually takes, like what does this Warrior in Black guy actually do. So we're up to 8.6 for this turn for the first attack, because bear in mind he has the attack buff from that previous turn. Okay, the first attack from his passive does become a super, so that's 9.8. So bear in mind he's still got 1 more, then the potential, hidden potential, and then he gets a guaranteed additional super. If you miss the hidden potential proc, but then you get the guaranteed additional super, that can actually proc the hidden potential again, which it did not. So we did, 3 supers that turn, going up to 11 million. So that puts him at 50% damage reduction. So he eats that for double digit damage, and the Warrior in Black super does 1.3 million. So obviously not, you know, the hardest hitting boss in the game, but type neutral, 1.3 million. And this free-to-play cooler tanks it for double digit damage, doing 3 supers in the turn. So he was up to, trying to think, each super attack is giving about 150k buff, I think. Off the top of my head, I'm bad with calcs, I've always said this, but he's probably at somewhere around 900k defense, I think, after 3 supers on this turn, with 50% damage reduction. So obviously that 1.3 million drops down to being like 650k, and he's got more than that in terms of the defense. So yeah, he just eats it for double-digit damage. And so, yeah, those buffs from that super are going to look very nice on this next turn, where obviously he then has the carryover like buff. Although this could be a spicy turn in terms of damage taken. Do I have any items with me? I guess I'll use this. Just because I'm a little bit worried about like Demon King Piccolo eating a super or something. So with the Princess Snake active, we should be fine on this turn. If he super Slug, then obviously Slug is going to tank for double-digit damage, because he's got 101% damage reduction on this turn. Is it 35 for a Princess Snake? But yeah, we should be okay with the item active, I think. I think anyone on the turn will survive a super with the item active. But yeah, that's the other thing, is like the more supers you get in one turn, because that buff is for 4 turns, and therefore he has the buff when he comes around again, the more supers you get in one turn, the better he's going to be on the next turn as well, because then he's got those buffs. So yeah, that's very good. 10 million here from Frieza. Considering this is a rotation where he has barely any links, doesn't have big bad bosses, doesn't have any support. And the AGL Frieza is a fun unit in terms of big damage boy, but obviously he's not the best defensively for some of these tougher bosses. But alright, so can we kill him here before we get blasted by the super? Or can we live the super? Because Goku, what does he do? He's got type advantage over Cooler, obviously. He does 1.6 million. So Cooler on this turn, starting off at 263k. So 263, was it 472? Plus 200%. And this is without all the super attack effects and stuff. Is already 790. Then with each super, he's basically getting 60%, because it's 30% from his passive, 30% from the super attack effect. So he's getting what? He's getting over 100k like with each super, right? So he does very quickly, as long as he gets a couple of supers, gets to over 1 million defense. And then with 50% damage reduction, I think he might actually tank this for double-digit damage, depending on how many supers he gets. So I'm very intrigued to see, because obviously we've got type disadvantage, and it's super versus extreme. So Goku is doing quite a lot of extra damage to Cooler hit, but if he does like 3 or 4 supers, then he potentially still eats it for double digits. And even if he doesn't take double digits, I don't think he's going to die, because we're on full health, right? How much health do we actually have? Am I going to get to see that before Cooler attacks? Yeah, 557. So 8.2 to start us off. The big question, of course, though, is how many additionals can we get? And only having the medium chance is not great. Of course, you can't do damage to Goku unless you do a certain amount as well, which is funny. But by the second super, we can do that even with no crit, so that's not bad. He only did 2 supers, so he's got 40% damage reduction. 210k. I mean, an STR boss that does a 1.6 million damage super for a physical free-to-play unit, I would say that that's actually really, really good. And he only did 2 supers out of, remember, like the God RNG turn, he's going to do 4 or 5, because obviously you can only do the 3 once per thing. But I guess as long as you're doing 3 supers in the first part of the turn, you get that guaranteed additional, and then you're doing 3 supers on the next turn as well. But I mean, there you go. So that is the free-to-play Frieza into Final Form Cooler. They actually seem really, really good. Now, based on the fact that the Bardock hasn't awakened into an LR yet, Trunks and Broly came out quite a while ago now and don't have an Easy A. Probably going to be waiting a while for this guy to get his Easy A, or for them to get their Easy A, I should say. But, I mean, they seem really good. The only problem, as I say in the video, is, like, the team that you need to run them on. Because, like, I wouldn't want to go into, like, really difficult events and be bringing physical Full Power Frieza and AGL Frieza just so that this guy has a Wicked Bloodline ally on the team. But without the Wicked Bloodline ally, then the Frieza part of the card is going to be a bit shaky. I suppose the only good thing, really, is that I say the only, but, like, the good thing about that situation is when it comes to the Cooler exchange, he doesn't need a Wicked Bloodline ally. So I guess if you can keep Frieza kind of like well protected, because he does get a lot of extra defensive capability, If you can keep Frieza relatively well protected before you exchange, I guess you don't need to have the Wicked Bloodline allies, but yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. I think for a free-to-play unit, this guy is really, really good and really well designed. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.